Welcome to the session number 3, that metal casting and welding, module number 2, related to melting and metal mold casting methods. Presented by Dr. Muniraju, myself, Dr. Muniraju M, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Government Engineering College, Chamarajanagar. And then in previous sessions already we'll discuss the metal molds casting methods, and then I'll move for melting furnaces. Melting furnace, here metals and alloys are converted to liquid state using equipment. Here a refractory lined metallic shell wherein this conversion takes place is nothing but a furnace. The source of heat provided to the furnace for the conversion of solid to liquid is called as a melting furnace. And then furnaces are selected based on the type of metal to be melted, and then quantity, and then fuels used, and quality of metal required, etc. And then these are the classification of furnaces. The melting furnaces used for melting various ferrous and non-ferrous metals and alloys can be classified, that is based on the fuel used, and then metal melted, and then furnace. These are the furnaces here used. In this they are using the coke as fuel. Then we can melt cast iron and non-ferrous alloys, and cast iron and non-ferrous alloys. And then these are the furnaces you are used. For cast iron you are using cupola, and then non-ferrous alloys you are using crucible or fit furnace. And then oil or liquid you are using the fuel. Then non-ferrous alloys you are using fit furnace or crucible furnace. And then iron or steel you are using furnaces as open earth. And then fuel you can use as the gas or gaseous. In this non-ferrous alloys you are using crucible furnace, and then iron and steel you are using open earth furnaces. And then your input like fuel may be electricity. In this steel cast iron we can be using electric arc furnace, is also known as direct arc method. And then non-ferrous metals alloys you can use resistance furnace. And then iron or steel you can use some induction furnace. These are the main classifications of different furnaces. If melting furnaces used for melting of various ferrous as well as non-ferrous metals and alloys can be classified like this. And then I will discuss one by one. Next we will take coke fired furnace. Here figure shows the coke fired furnace. Here this is nothing but a outer layer is nothing but a mesh steel, and then this is nothing but a refractory brick material. Above that you can place this pedestal, and then you can place this crucible. Around that you can pack the coke, and here in bottom side you can place the blower. And then above equipment, this furnace is above the ground level, below the ground level. And then in this type of furnace, the crucible kept on the pedestal. This is the pedestal. It is charged with ingot, coke slabs, are packed around the crucible and ignited. Once it starts burning, blower is switched on. Blower is switched on, and then the coke is charged slowly till the coke reaches the level of crucible. A lid is placed on the crucible and the blower is kept full blast. Metal starts melting, and once it reaches the desired temperature, blower is switched off, and then crucible is taken out, and the molten metal is treated and poured. It's the basic principle of gas-fired furnace. Next is coke-fired furnace. In this already explained coke-fired. Next we'll go for oil-fired furnace. In this type for furnace, the crucible kept on the pedestal. This is the pedestal, and then above that crucible you can place the crucible, and then charged with the ingot. The burner is situated. This is the burner, and then you can situate it at the bottom on one side, and then the valves are provided to control the amount of air as well as oil supplied to the burner, so that the flames can be controlled. The oil from the burner is ignited, and the desired flame is controlled by the valves. After the metal melts and attains the desired superheat, the crucible is taken out and the molten metal is treated and poured. And then in the previous one, coke is used for preparing the melting. Here you can using oil is used for heating the ingots. Again same this one. Okay, outer is layer is nothing but mild steel, and then fire bricks are placed. Then above the fire bricks you can place some refractory supported for pedestal. Above that you can place the crucible, and then while supplying the fuel as well as oil burner, and then ignited, the flames can be controlled. The oil from the burner is ignited and the desired flame is controlled by the valves. After the metal melts, attains the desired superheat, the crucible is taken out and the molten metal is treated and poured. It is also a simple basic principle of oil-fired furnace. Next we'll go for gas-fired furnace. Here gas-fired furnace, here this is the outermost shell, and then this is the refractory lining, and then this is the pedestal block. Above that you have to place the crucible, and then here hot gases you have to out your some vent hole is provided, and then the center portion is nothing but a lid, that is the closing of this furnace, and then the entire furnace is placed below the ground level, it is pit level, and then in bottom one side you can gas as well as air is supplied. Here gas fired is created at the bottom using waste, coke or wood, etc. Gas is blown through the burner. This will create a flame and eats the inside of the lining. The burner is switched off and the crucible with the ingots is placed. The burner is switched on. Now the burner is switched on. The flame will sweep around the crucible, and the flame is used to melting. Once the metal reaches the desired temperature, the burner is switched off. Now you have to switch off the burner, and then the crucible is taken out and the molten metal is treated and poured. This is about gas fired fit furnace. Next we will go for resistance furnace. In this here this is the outermost steel shell, and then you have to refractory brick lining, and then this is the block, crystal block. Above that you have to place the crucible, and then here electrical resistance coils are placed on both sides of this refractory brick lining, and then ventoles provided is wall for escape of gases, and then this is nothing but a lead, and then the figure shows the induction indirect type of resistance furnace. It consists of current carrying coils, that is inside the refractory bricks on both sides, and then the crucible with ingot charged is kept in the furnace on the pedestal, and the lid is closed. Current is switched on. The temperature of the furnace is controlled by a temperature controller. The melting starts slowly. After completion of melting, the lid is open. You can open this lid on any one side and or both sides. Okay, and then crucible is taken out for pouring. Heating takes place due to the resistance offered by the coil material and the principle of I square RT. And then this type of furnace is normally used for melting some non-ferrous alloys. And then here principle of working, due to the flow of current in the coil, the metal of the coils offers resistance, and it is generated according to the formula, that is nothing but Q equals I square RT, where Q equals heat generated in joules, and I is nothing but flow of current in amps, and R is the resistance of the coil in ohms, and then T is nothing but time of current flow in seconds. The heat generated from the coil is utilized to heat the metal in the crucible to melt. Very cleaned molten metal is easily obtained, and then controlling is very easy. This is about resistance furnace. The main thing is in this due to the flow of current in the coil, the metal of the coil offers resistance and it is generated. It is nothing but heat generated in joules, that is equal to I square RT. Here Q is nothing but heat generated in joules, and I is nothing but flow of current in amps, and then R is nothing but resistance of the coil in ohms, and T is nothing but current of flow in seconds. In this process, heat generated from the coil is utilized to heat the metal in the crucible to melt, and then very clean molten metal is easily obtained, as well as controlling is very easy. Next we will go for induction furnace. Here it is the most popular furnace for carrying out melting operation with simplicity, and then good quality of melt can be obtained. It works on the principle of induced EMF, as in the case of transformer, and then molten metal acts as the secondary coil, and then current carrying conductor acts as the primary coil. And then here the working principle of this induction furnaces. Here induction furnaces works on the transfer principle of transformer, and then water cooled copper coil carrying current acts as the primary coil, and a metallic charge in the crucible acts as the secondary coil. And then current induced in the charge is by electromagnetic induction, and then the charge offers resistance to the flow of induced secondary current. Due to this, the heat is developed and the charge starts melting. The induction furnaces is capable of melting all types of metals and alloys from small quantities to large quantities. It may be 25 kg to 10 ton approximately, and then very easily and then conveniently and quick process. Due to the induced EMF caused, stirring of molten metal in the molten process is the special feature, and then thereby gives some excellent homogeneity in the composition. The furnace houses a crucible inside copper coils. The crucible is formed by ramming refractory grains and sintering heat. A sheet of mica or asbestos separates the coil and the refractory, and then the outer shell of the furnace is made of mild steel. That is about the principle of working of these induction furnaces. And then these induction furnaces may be classified into further classified in two types, that is core type induction furnace and then coreless type induction furnace. In the first type, the coils are surrounded by the molten metal, and in second type, the coils surround the molten metal. We will discuss one by one. First, we will take coreless type induction furnace. Here, the constructional features of this coreless type induction furnace. Here, the furnace consists of outer cylinder steel shell and is hinged at the bottom front side to facilitate tilting for pouring. The furnace consists of outer, this is the entire nothing but the furnace, and then this is the outer shell, steel shell on both sides, and then consists of an outer cylinder shell, steel shell, and is hinged on one side, in left side at the bottom front side to facilitate and then tilting of this furnace while pouring the molten metal. You can, this is the lip of the furnace, while this is fixed, it is hinged on one side. You can tilt the entire furnace on this side, and then easily you can pour the molten metal. The inner surface of the shell is covered with mica or asbestos, and the bottom surface is covered with refractory bricks. And then next to the insulation layer, this is the insulation layer. Next to the insulation layer, the hollow copper tube coils are present for the entire height on both sides, entire height of the shell. These tubes carry current and are water cooled. The layer of insulation is provided to the coils. Compacted ramming refractory packing on both sides is provided above the bricks to form the base, and then a thin steel, that is the shell former, is provided on the top of the base. And then the annual space between the shell and the coil is rammed with the ramming mass. The steel former holds the ramming mass surrounding it. The top of the furnace front ends in the form of lip or spout to facilitate the metal to flow. This is the lip of furnace, you can easily pour. And then the inside portion of the former determines the furnace capacity. And then this is about the construction features of this coreless induction furnace. And then in the working principle of this coreless induction furnace, the furnace works on the principle of transformer, in which these copper coils acts as primary, and then and the charge is nothing but this scrap as secondary coil. The sintering consists of passing low current through the coil for several hours. Due to this, an EMF is induced in the former transformer and gets heated up. The transformer becomes red hot, and this starts heating and ramming mass and sinters. Slowly, the layer by layer of refractory mass gets sintered. The current is slowly increased and heating is continued for several hours. Loose thin scrap is slowly charged into the crucible. The scrap slowly starts melting and liquid metal pool is formed. This is the molten metal in the crucible. After some time, molten metal starts stirring, and the stirring action is due to eddy current induced in the metal, which will be flowing opposite to the direction of main current. The stirring action or churning ensures homogeneous molten metal. Necessary alloying elements can be easily be added. The charge needs to be properly selected since slag removal is difficult due to stirring action. It is about this coreless type induction furnace. And then other type is core type induction furnace. Uh, here here also the oil is surrounded by the metal. The principle of working is same as the previous one. The furnace is not very popularly used in practice. That is the only the difference between core type as well as coreless type induction furnaces. Thank you.